Hello and welcome to Lost in Chronologically Lost, episode 29, where we find out the ultimate twist, the biggest reveal in Lost ever. Henry Gale is black.
Yes, truly. But that won't come until the very end of these set of episodes here. So, I'd say where do we begin with this?
So,
But where we really begin is, for the first time, you get to see one entire uninterrupted episode.
I was going to ask about that, because what I realized, it was like a 43-minute video, and I was just like, wait, is this just a Lost episode?
It's just a plain Lost episode.
I got to see one. That's great.
Baby Aaron is sick, so, Locke goes to get Jack to check on him.
And Locke is discouraging Claire from going to the hatch because, Henry's in there.
Yeah, I wouldn't want him around a child, would you? We saw what he did the last time there was a baby.
I thought it was just more about, not letting Claire find out.
Well, that too, but
still keeping that secret.
Still.
Yeah. I kind of am forgetting, what do you mean the last time he was with a baby?
Well, he stole Danielle's baby.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, of course.
So, Danielle shows up.
I don't think he's in a position for that right now, but he would try.
I think if he really wanted to get out, he would get out.
Yeah. I feel like he definitely could have right before the ending.
Yeah, he could have before the ending. The others are clearly keeping an eye on him through the cameras, so...
They could just gas everyone if they really wanted.
Yeah. So Danielle shows up, and she says that Aaron is infected.
This whole infected thing, it just felt like... It's that early seasons trying to, make us think there's maybe a plague, except I already know there isn't. I already know exactly what made Danielle think that there was, so this whole plotline... It was detracted from by the fact that I just know that no, there is not an infection.
Right. And then we get the weird flashback things with the loud noises and, Claire just remembering her repressed memories.
Yeah.
So.
And they start to vaguely imply, we see some shots where the others had her, which then implies, okay, then Danielle was trying to take her away from the others, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
Before this, it did feel like she was trying to escape Danielle, and now, okay. Even before the episode reveals it at the end, as soon as they just show the flashes, I think it was pretty clear.
Yeah, it's obvious.
Yeah. Also, it also ties, the infection stuff also ties into how, I don't know when they show up, but some Desmond flashbacks, imply that there was, a vaccine that he needed to get from Kelvin, and, we know that was nonsense.
Right.
So
the vaccine that the others are injecting into Claire and everything in this episode, it's actually the same vaccine that Desmond was using. So, useless.
Seems bullshit to me.
Yeah, it's probably just saline or something. They're not injecting anything.
Yeah. Well, I thought that maybe those were just the drugs they were giving her to stay loopy.
Well, they were giving Claire those too, but you can see the on the labels. The labels are the exact same, and people know this because they have the numbers written on them. But they're the same, and Desmond wasn't loopy; he was just injecting them.
Because of course, the hardcore Lost fans, they were looking at every label.
There was something they were really looking at in this episode that we'll get to.
Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about, so I'll look forward to you telling me that.
Yes.
But anyway, Claire... Oh, well, first, Jack is just there's no infection, it'll be fine.
Which he's right, as we'll see. He is right.
I'm so glad that he's right, because it kind of reminds me of how the baptism episode ended with her still baptizing Aaron. I'm come on. And, I'm glad that she can just be wrong at the end, and it can be fine, and they don't have this dumb thing where they're proven right.
She says, "Hey, Libby is." I mentioned that Libby was a therapist because you said, "Oh, it's too bad nobody's a therapist." I said, "Libby is." Okay, well, technically she's a psychiatrist, so that's a level above. So she's like, "Okay, I'll ask Libby for help with repressed memories."
We get a scene of just some stuff with Locke and Jack talking about how they're handling Henry. And it's still just funny, like, Ben really had a genius plan of getting himself locked up and tortured. What a tactical mind.
I mean, I feel like the thing with Ben is he didn't mean to be captured, which we don't know for sure, but it makes no sense for him to plan to be captured. But once he was captured, he came up with a pretty good plan for what to do while he's there.
Yeah, well, I have some thoughts on that, but we'll talk about that a bit later. But anyway, Claire meditates...
Wait, before that, there's a scene... I get why you might have skipped over this. So, Locke gives Ben a book. I believe it was it a Dostoevsky book?
Yeah.
And Ben says, "Oh, I don't like this book, do you have any Stephen King?" Which we know is actually a lie, because back in the things, he was saying he didn't like Stephen King. He didn't like Carrie. He thought it was bad.
Huh.
So even in these super minor moments, he's just throwing out lies just to...
I haven't read Carrie in so many years, but I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, even something as simple as asking for a book. He asked for a book he doesn't even like.
I mean, honestly, Ben probably knew exactly what books they had there anyway. Like, the others were very aware of the hatch.
Yeah, for sure.
So then Claire starts to remember, and we get Ethan as a doctor talking to her, and this is kind of whack just because it reveals that this, like, nice facility exists where it's like, ooh, this is nicer than the hatch, and this is even nicer than, like, I don't think we're supposed to have seen the others' village yet. That's probably in a Michael flashback later. But it's nicer than that, and it's kind of just weird, like, the others have more than living as jungle people. Except then outside the hall in that room, it actually is, like, kind of crappy. They're, like, 2 nice rooms.
Then, Libby says that Claire could be mixing up memories from her time there and before the crash. Which I think she is, because at the one point, she sees a little baby toy with the airplanes flying around, and the airplanes are oceanic planes. And I have to think that that's like a mixed up memory.
Yeah.
Like it's just normal planes, but she superimposed.
That's a dream kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, also, so when Claire but stops remembering, she, screams and she freaks out. The room is real and it has to have medicine for Aaron. And I'm just like, no, it doesn't. You wouldn't even... Okay, I guess she thinks that the exact thing she was being injected with before might be what's necessary. But I would still, bring Jack, ask the literal doctor. I feel like you could convince Jack to come, because you could say, hey, there might be medical supplies there.
Yeah, but this is the girl boss episode, so that's not going to happen.
Echo is chopping some wood, and he goes and spies the stuff of... Henry's blanket, so he knows. And meanwhile, Kate goes to get a gun from Sawyer and is just demanding it.
And she gets it.
Yeah. And also, they just randomly gave Sawyer, perfect glasses, and they don't even flesh out how he found those when finding some was such a big deal earlier. And it's definitely from the writers just being like, let's just give him glasses and stop worrying about that.
Maybe there should have been a whole flashback dedicated to him getting those glasses.
Is that a joke or is that real?
No, it's not. Of course it's not real. It's a joke. It's a joke about how they flash back to Jack's tattoos, even though that was completely unnecessary.
Anyway, and that gets alluded to later.
Yes. And, okay, we'll get there.
So Claire is arguing with Sun that she has to do this, and she remembers Ethan injecting her, and some shots of Alex saying she has to get out. And, the hallway that's really creepy leads to a nursery. And it's like, where did all this stuff comes from? And Ethan makes excuses for why Charlie isn't there.
Yeah.
And then he talks to another and
wait, you didn't recognize him?
Which one is it?
It's the guy that they've been talking to. It's...
Okay, because we find out he has a fake beard later, yeah, but anyway. I just find it funny how they just are totally letting Claire overhear it all, and that doesn't even go anywhere. She doesn't even suspect anything. He just saying super suspicious things, and Claire is rolling with it.
Right, and they do mention that taking Claire in the way that Ethan did was not the plan, so I guess you could say that kind of wraps up that thing of, like, why did he arbitrarily wait till that amount of time to do it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did it because he thought she was about to give birth.
Well, and it's because he was about to be found out because they had a manifest. So, Claire and Kate, they find Danielle, and, Danielle says that she killed her team because they were infected. And as soon as Claire says she remembers a teenage girl, Danielle's like, okay, I'm going to help you because I want to find Alex.
Danielle is just so lucky that her daughter happened to grow up to be, like, the one good other.
You'll see a little bit more of this, but it's kind of just, she's in her teenage rebellion phase, and when your dad is, supposedly Ben, your teenage rebellion is going to be, I'm not going to be like my dad, who is an asshole.
Ben is high on the list of people to not be like.
Yes.
Anyway, Echo goes asking about who they're keeping in the hatch, and Echo wants to speak to him, but that'll be continued later. For now, they find where Claire scratched Danielle, and Danielle gets pissed because Claire doesn't remember the way back. Because Claire is still convinced Danielle was trying to take her there, and Danielle's like, I thought you were taking me there, and...
Unfortunate. So Kate tries to threaten Danielle with her gun, and it does not work at all. So...
I mean, it works...
I feel like Danielle threatened her more, even though she had the gun pointed at her.
I'm pretty sure Danielle would have been down with Kate doing that.
Exactly, yeah. She wasn't threatened at all. She was like, yeah, do it.
Well, is that the threat failing? That's more like the threat being embraced.
Well, to me, the point of the threat is, I will shoot you if you don't do this thing. And if the person goes, okay, fine, shoot me then, that's the threat failing because you're fine with it.
Well, she still didn't do the thing.
Exactly, because Danielle turned it around on her.
No, but, like, if the threat failed, she would have put her hands back on Claire.
Okay. That wasn't the point of the whole... Okay, whatever. Let's just move on.
Anyway, Claire wanders off. We get another memory. Ethan wants to sneak out, take a walk with her. They sit on a log. And he's so friendly, and he says his allies think she'll run. And it's very creepy how they make him act so sentimentally.
Yeah, so turns out Ethan's plan was to just take the baby and give back Claire after she's given birth, which is weird. It says that the others are good people, which...
No.
Yeah. Okay, so then
just said
Claire,
yeah.
Then
I just said no to the others.
I was saying yes to your no.
Yeah. It sounded to me like you were saying they're good people.
No, They steal kids. They kidnap. What do you? Remember, this is an anti-baby stealer podcast.
I thought so. Now I'm not sure.
Okay, so
now you're making me confused.
So Claire finds the entrance to the staff, and it's been abandoned. And I was like, why did they abandon this? So I looked it up.
Yeah.
That's an unanswered question.
Because
it makes no sense for them to just abandon the hospital. Like, what? Why?
Like, this is the hospital?
It's the Dharma Medical Facility.
Like, wouldn't this be the best place to have Jack operate on Ben?
You'd think so.
I mean, we know there's, like, more hospital-y stuff at the main Dharma facility.
Yeah, but anyways.
Kate finds a box with the glue and a beard, and I'm still just kind of wondering, like, why did he use a fake beard to talk to them?
I don't know.
Maybe it's not like without the beard they'd recognize him. Maybe it's something to do with he wants to seem like he's a jungle man.
I have to assume that's the case.
It's just
so
like
Claire,
the fake village.
Then Claire gets some more memories. She remembers, Alex rescuing her, getting her out of the facility. And there's no vaccine here, which, oh no, the vaccine that does nothing,
Yeah.
that's not here.
Well, also, don't worry. We also get her remembering that she wakes up in the jungle and screams for Ethan, and like hears Ethan saying, "I'll come get you." And it's like, goddamn, Danielle had her hands full fixing this shit.
Yeah. Claire's like, oh, I'm sorry, you were trying to save me and everything, and then Danielle's like, yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter, Alex isn't here, there's no point.
But eventually, like, Claire does mention, girl with blue eyes saved me, and Danielle says something about, I hope you know what must be done. What is she implying there?
She's saying that if Aaron is really infected, that Claire needs to kill Aaron. Because that's what she did to her team.
Oh, well, that's stupid.
I mean, to be fair, her team... I think if Aaron was infected like her team was, then that would be the right decision. But he's not.
Okay, but it's the dramatic irony of being the audience knowing what the characters don't. It just makes it hard to to root for that kind of thing.
Yeah, so Jack brings in Echo to go talk to Ben, and gives him a whole story of what happened to him, and says he's sorry for killing the two others, and then cuts off his little beard thingies.
And it's like, that's cool. He wants forgiveness, and I feel like he I don't know. Is he kind of hedging his bets and just is this confession for himself, or is it for Ben?
I think it's for himself. I think he's, like he said, he's trying to walk the path of righteousness again.
So he doesn't even care if it's not really another. He doesn't know for sure.
Yeah, but come on, it's...
Oh yeah.
It's obviously another.
Yeah, I don't really get the hair thing.
I guess it's just symbolism of, oh, I sinned, so I grew up my hair, and now that I can repent for my sins, I can cut it off or something. I didn't look into it. Maybe this is a tradition in some parts of the world or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It just cuts off some hair, refuses to elaborate, leaves.
Yes.
Anyway, Aaron is fine now because of course he is. And this episode is definitely one that just feels like it was
This is an episode that I feel like if shows at this time didn't need to be 24 episodes long per season, this is an episode that wouldn't exist.
And I feel like bits from this episode would exist. We would get the explanations we got. But a lot of this episode was just like, it was taking us in a circle, It didn't get us anything new other than a couple reveals.
Yeah, all the stuff with Henry and everything, that's something. But everything else is that really, Danielle was what? Really minor. We learned that Danielle was saving Claire, which obviously, really...
And we learned what happened to Claire, but that didn't...
And that the others wear fake beards.
But we didn't need, a whole episode for those reveals.
No, you didn't. That could have just been one scene.
It took us nowhere, and it was and the problem is, because I know that the infection isn't real, it was obvious from the start that it would take us nowhere, so it was a little boring. Yeah. But I have some thoughts on Ben's plot, and I think, why I don't love it is I could buy Ben as a planner who would think of this genius plan, although it's obviously a really stupid plan, but the show's going to treat it as clever. And I could buy Ben as, devious, and I don't know if I could buy Ben choosing to weather this much torture for a plan. And you say he didn't plan it, and I guess you're right, maybe he got caught by accident but then decided to roll with it. But here's the real problem. It's hard for me to believe that he would stick in character as Henry Gale so perfectly. Here's the thing. The actor is doing a good job. What's the actor's name?
Michael Emerson.
Yeah. Michael does a great job acting, but right now, it feels like he's playing some other pretending to be Henry Gale. It does not feel like he's playing Ben pretending to be Henry Gale, where Ben would have to be a great actor and good at staying in character for this.
I guess because you're seeing it, again, chronologically. Obviously this is most people's first introduction to Ben, so that's part of his character. Oh, he can play a role like this really well.
Yeah, I guess. For me, it's just he doesn't feel like Ben, and it just feels like the actor and the writers don't know he's Ben yet.
So
They might have decided on the name Ben, but they don't know the character Ben yet.
Right. So anyway, Jin is now yelling at Sun to leave her garden because the others attacked her there.
Oh, wait, don't forget, we also, of course, get something with Ben basically trying to manipulate Locke, saying, like, oh, why do you let Jack tell you what to do? And Locke just gets mad and throws a tantrum.
Yeah. I want to be clear. Ben's plan would not work if Locke wasn't honestly such an insecure baby. Like,
I really don't even get Locke's character during this part. I don't get why he feels this sad and this insecure about it. Because, I don't know, it hasn't felt to me like everyone just listens to Jack over Locke. That feels like it's suddenly out of nowhere. That feels like it's not true, but Ben is just trying to manipulate them to make him think it's true, and somehow that actually works on Locke.
well, I don't think it's true. I think some people listen to Locke, and some people listen to Jack, and some people listen to both of them. But I think Locke's thing is especially after, he had this whole thing of he got to the island, and he's fixed now, and he's special, and he's going to open this hatch, and the hatch is where everything is going to be so important. And he gets there, and he's still in the same place socially. Like, he's still just, Locke, the old guy who can sometimes help us out. I think he really thought that once he opened the hatch, he'd be like the new Messiah or something. Like, he would be, absolutely amazing. And
that's very egotistical.
It is, but you can see, because you see in season 1, he had built up this idea of the hatch so much in his head as to what it's going to be.
Yeah.
That there was no place but for it to lead to disappointment.
Yeah, I don't know. It still just feels kind of like, it's because like this wouldn't happen if he wasn't being manipulated to think that way.
Anyway, so now we have Jin yelling at Sun to leave her garden because the others attacked her there.
It feels like we're just getting a random scene of him being like early season 1 Jin again.
At least he has a reason here. But then he rips up the garden.
The plants.
So any idea what the flashbacks for this were?
So honestly, I knew it was a Jin and Sun flashback. I forgot that the infertility flashback existed. And so, while this episode said all these things about, like, oh, Sun has to tell Jin the whole truth, I kept thinking, like, ooh, maybe Sun is like admitting the truth to him that she cheated on him, and that's the flashback. And then suddenly they really just almost completely directly talked about the infertility, and I was like, oh yeah, that truth.
Okay, so it was the infertility flashbacks, but it also shows the scenes with her and the bald dude where he's teaching her English, and at the end...
Asian Lex Luthor.
Yes. At the end, it turns out, it sort of leads into them, possibly having a romantic relationship. I don't think the writers had settled on whether or not they did, because obviously they didn't show them hooking up as we know they did.
Yeah.
There. So but I think you can
going in that direction.
I think you can infer by Sun's facial expressions that they did.
Yeah.
Because she seems a little worried that might not be Jin's kid.
So she does not tell him the full truth for sure.
No, she does not.
Although I don't think does the timing make sense for it to not be Jin's kid? I guess they haven't been on the island for that long.
I'm trying to think. I think Jin, well, he didn't kill the guy, but he caused him to commit suicide. I think that was like pretty shortly before they left to go.
I forgot about that. Caused him to commit suicide. That was great. I mean, it was obviously a fucked up situation, but it was some crazy shit.
I know. Okay, so Locke goes to Ana Lucia to ask her to analyze Henry because she's a cop.
Because Locke needs to feel like he's important.
Then we get a funny thing just overhearing that Bernard forgot Rose's birthday today.
Oh yeah. And it's like he doesn't. And I'm with Bernard here. He doesn't know what fucking day of the week it is.
Yeah.
Like, how does Rose know?
She's been keeping track. That's how she knows.
Well, excuse me that Bernard had some other things to worry about rather than keeping track.
Right. So they see Sun looking ill, but it's, what is this?
Yeah.
I
mean,
she's
when they ask if they should get Jin, she screams no. Anyway, Locke, this could have been a Jack and Kate scene because Locke walks in on a naked Jack.
Yeah, he does the whole thing where he's like, "Oh, do you think maybe we should bring in Ana Lucia to talk to Henry?" And he goes, "Okay, maybe that's a good idea." He's like, "Okay, well, I already did it." Like,
yeah, this is pure Locke just trying to pull some power plays.
yeah,
And it looks for a bit. It looks like Ana Lucia is being the nice cop, which I think has to be a first for her.
I think she's holding back so much because she's like, I thought for sure this guy was another, and I threw him in a pit, and I was even gonna cut his finger off, and it turned out he was not another. So maybe I should rephrase this tape, even though this time I'm like, yes, Anna, cut his finger off. Like,
Sun is here to talk to Sawyer, and yeah, she needs a pregnancy test. I'm not gonna lie. I could do without this pregnancy plotline.
oh, it's gonna be real important, so don't expect it to go anywhere.
Yes.
She's not just gonna suddenly become unpregnant.
I know. Because obviously it's just like, come on. We already had, like, we already got, one plot line of...
Yeah, but with the last episode, we
pregnancy.
solved everything about Claire's pregnancy, so now there needs to be another one.
It's like, why did they suddenly plunge us straight into another? I don't know.
I'm fine with it.
I mean, it just, like... It feels very season 1 drama. It's like, ooh, we have to make sure the pregnant woman is healthy and take care of the baby. I guess taking care of the baby is season 2, when I'm like, come on, let's get to the crazier things.
You'll see, it all adds together. You'll see.
You do like Jin and Sun, so maybe, when Jin and Sun have a baby, that's way more interesting.
Okay, also, I'm just gonna say it. Remember, Saeed said that he was on the island for 100 days. So if Sun is realizing she's pregnant now, around day 60...
Yeah.
I'm just saying, she's not having that baby on that island. Or if she is, it's in a time skip,
Yeah. Which raises only further questions of where the fuck is Sun in way ahead of us.
We will get there when we get there.
God fucking damn it.
Yeah, so anyway, Anna asks Henry to draw a map to his balloon.
She asks why he has no beard, which is so true.
Yeah, which he said he shaved, which, okay, sure.
And she wants a map to the balloon, and I'm just thinking, why didn't they ask for that ages ago? But he gives the excuse that, he's scared that if he messes this up, they'll crucify him. And so it's like Ana Lucia needs to persuade him to do it anyway.
Yeah. So then, as Sun is trying to sneak off to go use her pregnancy test, she runs into Hurley, who had snuck off to go eat a chocolate bar.
And he's like, "Hey, Sun.
Look what I just found.
Candy bar. You want some? I just found it unmelted in the jungle."
Yeah,
and
it's great. Also, I should note the pregnancy test is. Did you notice anything about it?
I noticed it said Winmore Labs.
Yeah, so Widmore is making pregnancy tests. Apparently, there was also a flashback in another. One of the other flashbacks. I didn't notice it when it happened. Had some factory in the background. You could see that said Widmore Factories or something. I don't remember which flashback it was supposed to be or when, but it happened. So
I think I know why Widmore made pregnancy tests.
The point is he's just kind of like a businessman now.
Well, I think it's because he really, really needs to know in case Desmond gives him a reason to kill him.
So Anna gets Saeed and Charlie to travel with her to the balloon. And then Anna starts demanding Charlie's gun, which, no.
I like the part where she just goes to talk to Saeed and then Charlie's just like, yeah, I know about this too, what of it? And I feel like, I don't know, the drama of Ana Lucia not telling Jack or Locke about the map, that feels a little... It's for the sake of it being a TV show. I don't think that was that believable or necessary.
I guess. So then we have Sun waiting for the pregnancy test results with Kate, and yep, She's pregnant.
Yeah.
So.
And Jack says it's definitely for real. She doesn't want to tell Jin, and also we get more of Jack trying to keep Kate from coming to the hatch. Where it's like, Kate is totally inner circle enough to know, but Jack obviously is sexist towards Kate.
Anna talking to Saeed, saying that she's, sorry for killing Shannon.
Yeah.
And Saeed's like...
No, and she's sad about how nobody likes her. And Saeed's just like, it was the others who killed her indirectly. We can blame them, which is true.
Yeah. So, then we have Bernard trying to find an oyster for Rose.
To get a pearl. Also, Charlie tried to get them to eat papayas for breakfast, which is like, fuck off, Charlie, I hate you.
What's wrong with papaya?
I'm just kidding. It's just a Charlie moment.
So now we get to the point in the episode where I realize that, is this whole thing a metaphor? Because I write in my notes, Jin replants Sun's garden. And I go, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
They got us.
Yeah, they did. So yeah, then he, apologizes to Sun.
And then we get, like, obviously there's a cut where there's a flashback, and it's like, oh, she told him about the infertility thing.
Yeah. And she lies and says, she hasn't been with another man, even though, bitch, we saw you fucking Asian Lex Luthor.
Fuck that guy.
And then he says, I love you in English.
Oh yeah, that was nice. I'm just thinking back to how, like, during right after the 3-year time skip in the 70s, I was like, oh yeah, Jin is better at English now. That was probably nice for the writers. They could finally write more English dialogue for him. And now it's like, then I really got like, oh yeah, he had no English dialogue for a while.
Yeah, other than that dream sequence where he got to speak with the actor got to speak with his actual American accent. So yeah, then they pull Ben out of the hat to go, or out of the safe to have breakfast.
He mentions the map, and they don't know about it. And then, like, Ben is obviously trying to play up the conflict between Jack and Locke, even though it really doesn't feel like Jack and Locke actually fought that much. It just felt like they would sometimes reasonably disagree, and that's good. And then Ben basically says if he was an other, he would draw a map leading them to an ambush, and it's like, from a viewer's perspective, the balloon being real is just so easily explained. It's just that, yeah, a balloon really landed there, and as the leader of the others, Ben knows about it.
Yeah, and then he just assumed his identity. He also makes a thing, he's like, I'd be asking all sorts of questions about the stuff down here. To which the fans were like, yes! Why are they not talking about this more?
Because they've been living with it, and they have just reached the point where they just know that they don't know anything. It's like, what are you going to do about it? I mean, we do get a big answer later, which, well, we'll talk about that later.
Right, so anyway, the balloon group finds the balloon.
Yeah.
In a very surprising way where they don't realize it till they're standing under it. Like, would you not see that?
Like you would have seen it when you were walking up.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, in retrospect, Ana Lucia should have considered that it could have been a trap. Except, it's like, how would Ben be able to tell them to set up the ambush for now? Except we know they have the cameras, but, like, Ana Lucia wouldn't have realized that. I don't know.
Yeah. So, then Locke in the hatch hears a weird voice over the speakers.
Yeah.
So this whole thing is, as we'll see later, there was Jack and Kate find this huge crate drop full of food, right?
I wanted to talk about that when it happens.
Well, it ties in here because I'm looking it up. I was like, why did it lock down again? And it appears the reason is that the hatch locks down when the crate drop is happening.
Huh.
And it does it so suddenly because you could kind of hear, especially with the subtitles, saying how many minutes were left until it the lockdown happens, and then it just kind of suddenly happens. And the idea is that, Desmond and before him Radzinski faking the lockdown so many times kind of mess with the wiring and cause it to happen sooner. Yeah, so that's that answer as to how the lockdown happened.
They were faking lockdowns? I forgot.
Yeah, remember, because we'll see in this episode, Locke sees... Remember when Mr. Krabs was painting that invisible painting?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the UV painting that Locke sees when the UV light's gone.
I got that.
Yeah, and at the very beginning of that scene, he shows Desmond how to fake a lockdown so that he can paint on it.
So, like, why would it lock down when the crates come? Like, then how are they supposed to get the crates?
I think the point is they're supposed to be locked down. The plane or whatever happens, things flies over, or however they launch it. I'm still not sure. They do go into more detail on it later. Whatever. So whatever mechanism they have launches the crate to them. The
island does move.
Yeah. They explain that too. Don't worry. The crate lands, and then the lockdown gets lifted, and they can go out and retrieve it. I just think they didn't want them interacting with the crate as it comes down or something. I'm not sure.
I guess. Well, that's something. So, anyway, yeah, the lockdown happens. It felt... I had no idea these are the explanations, so I was thinking things like, did the others just do this to fuck?
I thought that too. I was like, can the others trigger it from somewhere? I had to look up why it happened, and then it was like, oh, it's the timing with the crate. Okay.
Also, the balloon being real, it definitely felt like they were doing a lot to
they were trying to make you really like Henry, so that at the end of the episode, when it turns out he's fake, they.
Yeah. So anyway, Locke manages to throw a crowbar under the door, and that doesn't do a ton. And meanwhile, instead
he says to Henry, I'll need your help with this. So Henry, he gets Locke's word that he'll be protected. Do you have any idea what the flashbacks for this one were?
Probably something Locke. I'm gonna guess him recovering from his paralysis in the hospital.
No, this was when Locke's dad showed up again and ruined Locke's relationship.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
It is. Yeah, so
then at this point, have we still not seen how he got paralyzed?
We have not seen how he got paralyzed.
I feel like that's gotta happen soon, because then Season 3 has to have the weed farm. So is it gonna be early Season 3 or end of Season 2? Seems more like an end of Season 2 thing to me.
Okay, so then we have people who are they're playing poker for fruit.
Jack goes and just reads all their hands, and okay, so I had misunderstood something, because Jack just, when Ben baited them, Jack just left. Like, they said, oh, it's too late to go and track down Ana Lucia, and then Jack just leaves and says, put him back in the cage. And I thought Jack was gonna go and be an idiot and try and chase Ana Lucia anyway. Just because, I don't know, that seemed like something Jack would do, even though it's not a good idea. But he doesn't. But then he's going to, and he's like, okay, I'll play poker. I'm like, I thought you were going to go do something important.
Nope.
But the poker, actually a pretty fun plot line.
Yeah, so Jack gets all of Sawyer's fruit, and then they decide, okay, we're going to bet everything.
It just destroys him.
We're going to bet medicine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is how I knew, obviously Sawyer will still have the guns after this, but, they resolved the medicine one in, a funny, C-plot kind of way.
Yeah. Just okay,
it's fine. It does feel like Sawyer would be this petty to try and win back, his fruit that's meaningless because he can go get more fruit.
Oh, yeah. Sawyer made himself the warlord, but he is not a good warlord.
Yeah, especially because as they're arguing over the poker and everything, Katie is like, oh, do I need to go get a ruler? It's... anyway, back in the hatch, Locke tries sliding under the door, which as soon as every time I watch the scene, I'm like, no, don't do it. He just really likes getting leg injuries.
Yeah, it's god damn, he got another one. How many is that? There's the paralysis. I know he breaks a leg when he falls down to the well. There's this. There's this thing that happened with
when he magically lost use of his legs again.
Yeah, and then there's what's the one in season 1? Something stabbed it.
Yeah, he got stabbed in the leg by something.
Yeah.
I forget what, but he did.
It's like, I wonder how serious it's even going to be. Like, is it going to be always having trouble walking for the next few episodes, or is he just going to be fine?
I don't remember. Anyway, so then back on the beach, Jack brings up that he went to Thailand, and then Sawyer guesses that that's where his tattoos came from. So why did we need a whole episode about it? It's solved. We got the answers right here.
And it's like, what? I wonder why he learned poker there. It didn't look like he was learning poker there.
No, it didn't. So anyway, then Locke, tells Ben to go climb through the vents to go enter the numbers because, of course. So then Jack wins poker, gets all the meds, and then gives a line on, when I need the guns, I'll get the guns.
Well, let's not skip over things. He wins poker with like a pair of 9s, I think.
Yeah, but it was better than what Sawyer had. So
yeah.
So then
it's like he'll get the guns when he needs the guns, and yeah, that's true. When something's actually happening, Sawyer is not gonna hold the guns hostage. Anyway, yeah, Locke is screaming to Ben about you wake up, you gotta get the button, and it must have pissed off viewers so much that they just wanted to see the timer go down.
Yes, but at least they got to see this weird UV light painting.
Yeah. Also, where the hell is Desmond?
Anyway, so on this UV light painting,
I'm just gonna keep asking that like every episode.
You'll find out eventually.
So, I did not pause it and look closely enough at the UV lights to like figure out what important thing this is. I'm sure it's important, and I'm sure we'll see more of it later anyway.
You won't.
But all I have to say is, oh really?
You'll see Locke trying to recreate it in like pencil sketches, I think, but that's about it.
Okay.
It was meant for people to pause and look at.
Okay. Well, all I have to say there is just, they really put in a lot of random shit, mysterious stuff into the hatch that just gets explained by Radzinski was a fucking crazy man.
Yeah, so if you look on this, a lot of the things are, say, that are scattering around the giant question mark in the middle are, say, a swan, or a flame, or an arrow.
And they're just the names.
So it's a map. It's a map of the Dharma stations.
Yeah.
And it's really weird because for the flame, he says, supposed communications between. It's like, what do you mean supposed, Radzinski? You worked there.
You worked. Radzinski is just a fucking crazy man.
Anyway, the reveal of what the question mark is though is pretty meme. So we'll get to that.
One of these is the orchid, which is going to be important.
Yes.
Ben seems like he's gone, but then he shows up there, and he's just like, "Oh, I was in the air vent while the lockdown ended."
Yeah. So then Kate tells Jack
and
it
seems like at this point, Henry is gonna be like, Locke trusts Henry. He's trusting him. Henry is free. Everyone's gonna find out that he exists. It's like, damn, that's bad because he's Ben. But it doesn't go that way. It doesn't quite go that way.
No. So then we have the scene with Kate and Jack where she's, kind of flirty and be like, oh, I'm glad you beat Sawyer. Yeah. But then it gets interrupted by them seeing a crate full of Dharma food.
Well, also, my thought here is just like, oh, he's still trying to keep her from going to the hatch, but she's gonna see Henry coming out of there. But instead, an airdrop of food. So, when we got to the hatch, I was like, I already know everything interesting about this. I don't have any questions. And you were like, oh no, you have questions. Where does all the food come from? And I was like, okay, I guess I don't know where the food comes from.
But now you know where the food comes
from. That's
from.
Interesting. And now, okay, the big mystery that you wanted to make sure...
I'm not saying it was a big mystery. I'm saying it was a mystery you didn't know the answer to.
Well, I feel disappointed. I don't think there was a way for me to not be disappointed here because it's not that cool of a mystery.
I mean, they'll give a better answer to this later. It's pretty funny, actually.
Well, now you're gonna make me look forward to something again.
It's not like some big. It's like a comedy scene.
Okay.
It'll be way later though. Don't worry about it for now.
Anyway, suddenly Ana Lucia and Saeed and Charlie show up, and like Charlie's just like, "What the fuck is this?" And Locke and Ben are talking. It's like, "How did you make the doors go up?" When it seems like they were just lucky.
Yeah.
But they come in and they point a gun, and Fret's first it's like, "Oh, why are they not trusting him?" And then, holy shit, they dug up the grave, and I'm so glad that they dug up the grave because it would have been like. They needed to be sure. They needed to be serious about that. And they didn't find a woman, but a man. Henry Gale is black.
Yes. I mean, no wonder he wanted to go on a trip around the world in a hot air balloon if he was black from Minnesota. That seems like he needed to get out.
Yeah, this is just good. I'm glad that this is how they reveal it. And I'm really curious what Ben's story is going to be next and how much he's going to say. This was great. Hopefully it moves us closer to the ending actually happening of Season 2. But, well, I mean, now I want to see what happens next, which is more interesting than last time. I was just like, ugh, what's it going to be?
Yeah, so I know what the next episode's going to be, and I know that the next one is a fan favorite, so...
Oh,
you'll love it. It's great.
I mean, I'm sure it. I mean, I'm sure for one thing, it gave some reveals. Considering, I mean, I don't know.
I don't think Ben will say, I don't remember if it does or not. But the part I'm remembering doesn't.
I don't know how much Ben will say, but I feel like he has to say something. Like he's just caught out.
Right. Well, I hope you will join us next time, where we will be covering episode 54, November 22nd to the 23rd, and episode 55, November 23rd to the 24th.